How's it going, everybody? My name is Vier, and today I wanted to take a look at some scary stories from Reddit. So, without making the intro too long, let's just get right into it. My brother was kicked out and went missing over 10 years ago. My identical twin brother was gay, and when our father found out about that, he gave him about an hour to pack his things and leave. We were 17. I remember because I was there. I was just sitting on the bed in our room when my brother grabbed his school backpack, threw all the books on the floor, packed some clothes and a toothbrush. I didn't even say anything to him. He walked through the door and I never saw him again. A few weeks later, we had CPS at our house and our abuela took over custody of me and my younger siblings, and we reported my brother missing. Apparently, it was him who went to our teacher at school and told him about the situation in our home and how abusive our father was, but he didn't come back. I've been looking for him for the past 11 years. The last lead I had was from his friends that he was around soon after he left. They were all junkies. Some of them were homeless. Apparently he was living in and out of motels as a prostitute and using, but I never actually managed to track him down. We barely talk about him, but when we do, my family refers to him as if he was dead, which is likely, but I don't want to believe that. Unfortunately, I'm forced to post this from a different account because the other one got suspended, and I hope it's alright to post an update. Firstly, I just want to thank everyone for the overwhelming amount of responses and support. I couldn't be more grateful, especially now that I'm very close to getting in touch with my brother. I was able to establish that soon after he left home, he left the state and then joined the military, and he was there for a few years. I get a hold of his social media handles, and last night I was able to message him. I haven't heard back yet, but I think it's just a matter of time. I obviously couldn't tell exactly what his life looks like now just from the pictures on his Instagram, but it looked quite peaceful. He lives in the UK now, and I think he's married, and I hope I'm right that I'll be able to see him soon. Update number 2. I spoke to my brother on the phone. I cannot even describe the feeling I got when I heard his voice. I've never felt anything like that before. He didn't speak for a whole minute when I said it was me on the phone. He said he never tried to reach out because he was convinced we all hated him, and he didn't want to risk ever seeing our dad. He said he's doing well. He started university in London last year. He's studying fine arts. He's been clean for a few years. He's in therapy. He said he can't start a day without a handful of pills, and I guess that's understandable, considering what he's gone through. But it really seems like he's doing good, despite the mental health issues and disability, and he's actually getting married soon, to a man, and I couldn't be happier for him. I haven't told the rest of my siblings yet. My brother said he wants to fly here to see me and them, and his partner will come with him. It took me 2 whole days to process this, and it still feels like I'm dreaming. And that is the last update we get from this OP, and it's been about 3 years since the last update, but if any of you guys were wondering how he was able to get in contact with his brother, he did leave a comment saying, "I hired a person to do some digging online, and they managed to find quite a lot of things, despite the fact that he's been using his nickname officially instead of his name and had been living in another country." So yeah, he basically hired a PI that was able to find him literally only using his nickname, and he was living in another country, which is just so crazy. But I'm happy for him. I'm glad he was able to get, back in contact with his brother, and he was able to work things out. Now, this next story is a little bit longer, but it's definitely worth the wait. It has a very good plot twist at the end, so let's get into it. Is my landlord watching me? Hello. I'm new to Reddit, and after debating for a bit, I decided to make this account to maybe get some input of what to do. English is my second language, so I apologize for any typos. I'm a 26 female living alone for the first time. My landlord was already feeling a bit off to me. He's a man in his late 40s and has never been holding back with comments about the way I look, etc. When I moved in, he was very clear about me not touching 2 fire alarms in my bedroom and hallway. He justified it by saying they were directly connected to the fire department, and if I would try to do anything to them, it would cause an alarm. The alarm in my bedroom has always made me feel weird. It makes a lot of noises, especially at night, sounding like a remote-controlled car and sometimes making a very muffled beeping sound. I brought it up to him once, and he said it was nothing, and if it should make more problems, I should call him. But other things kept happening, and I just more and more felt like something was off. But at the same time, people kept telling me I was overthinking things and scared since it was my first time living alone. The first thing that felt off to me was as I was renovating to move in. I grabbed the wrong shade of the color I wanted for my bedroom, and it ended up looking a bit too bright on the wall I tested it on. A few days later, during a phone call, he snapped at my parents about how horrible the pink was that I was using in my bedroom and if I was crazy. I had not let him inside my place, so I was very confused, but kind of brushed it off to me walking around in paint-covered clothing. But things got weirder. After that, during January last year, I spent a day at my parents', and when I came back, something felt off. I couldn't pinpoint it, and no one was inside my apartment, but I realized after walking into my bedroom a second time, one of the drawers under my bed was pulled out, and I don't remember ever touching it. Again, I brushed it off, mainly because my parents told me I probably just forgot, and I kinda end up feeling ashamed for ever bringing it up. Months later, during the summer, I took part in gaming night on a friend's Discord server, and when I finally hopped off to go to bed at 4 a.m., I came into my bedroom to see my underwear drawers being opened. I panicked and called my mom, because she lived close by and I wasn't sure if someone was still in the apartment. After that, I installed a door chain and got an alarm for the time I spend at home. I suspected my landlord had a second key and now probably wasn't able to get inside anymore, but that didn't cover the time when I'm not home. Sometimes when I come back, furniture in my bedroom is slightly moved, but at this point, my family keeps telling me I just forgot I moved it, and that I'm ashamed to keep bringing it up. I know this sounds insane, but is it possible to have camera in the fire alarms? Could I call the fire department in their non-emergency number, just asking if they can take a look at it because of the weird noises? I really just want my peaceful life back. Constantly knowing someone might have been in here in the past while I slept is really creeping me out and making me want to cry. Do you have any advice on what I should do? Edit. Here's a link to the pictures of the alarm. The first one is in the hallway, the second/third one with the open part is in the bedroom. I try to take them secretly, so I apologize for the quality. And the link she provided is no longer active, so unfortunately we're not able to see how the fire alarms look. Edit 2. I never expected so many responses, so I'll try to answer some questions here. First of all, my parents love and support me. I was just on a call with my mom updating her. I don't think she intended to gaslight me at all. They are not in contact with my landlord. My mom is reasonably upset right now and probably would go have a talk with him right now if she could. My landlord lives in another city. He just owns a bunch of apartments here, but he is here multiple times a week. I live in Germany, so any US law stuff doesn't really apply. Sorry for not clarifying sooner. My plan of action right now is I'm gonna call the fire department tomorrow morning to have them come by, and I have a family friend come by on Monday to put in new locks. I want to check the alarms, but I'm not very tall and I don't have a ladder here right now, so I cannot rip them off even though I would love to. Also, sorry if I'm not responding to all the DMs and private chat offers. This is a lot to take in. I promise I'll keep you all updated. Thank you all for the kind words. Update March 17th. Good morning and thank you to everyone giving their input and sending messages to me. This morning has been very stressful, so I apologize if I cannot get back to your DMs. I had a call with the fire department, and they told me the alarm is not connected to them in any way, shape, or form, and that this is extremely fishy, that the one tinkered with is the bedroom one. I also completely forgot I do have a storage room that has a fire alarm that looks identical to the one in the hallway. They told me to ask around in my friends and family if anyone knows a bit about electricity and have them come by to take it off and take a look inside. They said it's very likely some kind of foul play happened here. Disregarding the camera problem, there is still a fire alarm someone just messed with and didn't fix. My mom's best friend is an electrician, and I will try to reach him today to ask if he can come by ASAP. Otherwise, I know he's going to be around on Monday, so I might have to wait a little bit longer. Either way, I'll keep you updated. Thank you so much for the support. Edit. My friend is going to stop by on Monday, so likely no update until then. It was advised not to rip them off in case there is anything wrong about it. Should I feel unsafe at any point, I can crash at my parents or my sister's. Edit. I just want to clarify for those who are confused why I don't just rip it off. It belongs to my landlord. If it's true what one of the posters said, and it is put up wrongly, my landlord can get in trouble for that. But so can I for ripping it off. I would have to pay both for a new smoke detector and person to put it up, and I don't have the money to risk doing that. Okay. Nothing weird has happened since then, and I'm pretty sure I will have more answers. Until then, the only other thing that I'm already doing anyway was that a neighbor and I were talking, and while the topic of safety came up, she just said, "You should change your locks," without really knowing anything that happened to me, which is like not an odd thing to say, but just very specific. Update 23rd of March. Sorry for not updating instantly. Today was very stressful. While as far as I know, because of my friend, my smoke detector is okay right now, but there is other stuff that came up. I don't know and can't say much more about what is going on right now. I'm not too sure about what I can say, but I'd rather not risk it, since there is an ongoing police investigation. All in all, I have made choices to keep my safety insured for now. Sorry for not being able to give you some of the closure you want to hear. Maybe one day, I might be able to share the full story of what happened. Until then, to all of you, thank you so much. You helped me gain the confidence to have things looked at, and to make my safety my priority. I hope things are going to be good for all of you in these crazy times. Again, thank you. I wish you all the best. Update for this post. I logged into Reddit by chance many years later, and felt like I should finally give an update to this. To start this off, no, my landlord wasn't watching me. But this is how I found out that someone still did something with my fire alarms, or tried to remove them without contacting the people who actually installed the fire alarms. I cannot say if it was my landlord or possibly the person living there before me. I did mention a police investigation that ended up being connected to this. Since the entire thing is finally over and I had some time to heal, I will add what happened to this in relation to this. My ex was stalking me and tried breaking into my apartment. One night, during the time I was still actively updating the Reddit post, I was at home during that time, and thankfully was able to scare him off. After locking myself in the living room, this was added to an already ongoing investigation against him, so I wasn't able to update this anymore, since there was a reason to suspect he might have gotten into my apartment at an earlier point while I wasn't home. I do not know if he was able to possibly get into my apartment while I wasn't home before the night where I was, or if it was possibly my landlord, but everything that happened led to me not feeling safe anymore, and with the lockdown and the ongoing investigation, my mental health broke down hard. My PTSD was running overtime, and I ended up having to admit myself to a clinic for a while in 2022. I worked a lot on myself and changed things in my life. I'm no longer living alone, and I am in way better contact with my parents now. I moved and I feel much better by now. I'm sorry it took so long to update. The police investigation ended up making it to court, and it took forever for things to be sorted out. After everything was over, I struggled very hard for a while, but with the help of my support system and therapy, I made it through that. The years were rough, but I thankfully am in a better place now. And yes, my ex did get punished for what he did, and all the fire alarms got fixed too. Again, sorry this took so long to update. I don't like thinking back to that time because it left a pretty deep scar, but I hope I can give some more context to why I wasn't able to continue updating this. And that is the last update we have for this Reddit post. And like I said earlier, that was a really interesting plot twist. It turns out it was not her landlord, but actually her ex-boyfriend. And it's just so scary to think about that he could have been walking around her apartment at night while she was asleep, since he had done it multiple times already. So it's good to hear that he's behind bars and she's in a much better place. And with that being said, let's get on to the next story. My friend hasn't been seen in months, and I'm suspicious that his girlfriend might be impersonating him. This is one of my closest childhood friends, whom I haven't seen in about 6 months due to his general inability to respond to any form of communication. We now live in different states. My messages on several different apps have gone unanswered since last summer, but I figured he had switched to a new number, as he often does, and didn't worry about it too much. About a week ago, I was contacted by my friend's apparent girlfriend over Facebook. I didn't even know they were dating, let alone living together. She sent me a vague message asking me to reach out to him in a way that made it sound like he wasn't in a good place mentally. She also included his new number, but when I reached out to him via text, it didn't even show my messages as being delivered. My calls go straight to a generic voicemail and have remained unanswered. The weird part to me at this point is that my friend's girlfriend hasn't responded to a single one of my questions over Facebook. It's like she sent the first message and then forgot all about it. I talked to my friend's older sister, who said that she spoke to the girlfriend recently and was told that her brother isn't reaching out to anyone because he just lost his job and is very depressed, feels like a failure and fears rejection, which I understand. But I don't understand why his girlfriend would ask me for help and then dip after I try to get even a crumb of context. I also learned that his family hasn't seen or heard from him in about 3 months, which is when he moved in with this girl. So here's the part that's kind of freaking me out. I thought about reaching out to my friend on Snapchat, since I could sometimes catch him on there in the past. I entered the new number that his girlfriend provided into Snapchat, but the handle that popped up underneath it is very clearly the girlfriend's handle, complete with her name, personalized Bitmoji, etc. It's the same handle she uses for Instagram, so I know it's her. In my sleuthing, I also found a review that this woman left at my friend's former workplace. It's mildly unhinged. It accuses one of the female employees of being touchy-feely and sexually aggressive towards male employees. I don't know if my friend was fired or laid off or what, and I could see someone potentially leaving a negative review as vengeance if their boyfriend had been fired. But the context of this review was so specific, jealous, and paranoid that it had me absolutely baffled. It reeks of someone who is manipulative in relationships. Basically, is there an innocuous explanation for my friend's supposed phone number would be associated with his girlfriend's Snapchat account? No one has seen or heard from him directly in months. The only communication has been through his girlfriend. At best, I'm worried that it seems like she's speaking for him, and none of us know how he's actually feeling. At worst, the Snapchat details has me worried that she's impersonating him. I don't know why she would do that, but there are too many fishy details that aren't adding up. I don't want to call a wellness check and my friend is just depressed and antisocial, but the situation is seriously weird. Update number 1. Thank you all so much for your input. It's been agonizing trying to make the right decisions here, and I really appreciate all of your consideration. I obtained my friend's mailing address from a family member. Incidentally, one of our close mutual friends just moved back to our hometown last week, and he told me he would try to swing by the address tonight and see if he could get proof of life for my friend. If he doesn't make it or can't find our friend, I'll call a wellness check first thing tomorrow morning. Stay tuned. Update number 2. Sorry for the delay. I had to take a personal day to deal with all of this yesterday and was swamped at work this morning. My friend is alive and well. He's not buried in the backyard or strung out on heroin or being impersonated. I still don't have all the details I'd like or have a direct way to contact him for the time being, but at least I and his family now have a better idea of his mindset and situation. Yesterday evening, our mutual friend showed up unannounced at the mailing address I had been given. Our missing friend opened the door and was apparently delighted to see him. His girlfriend was there too, and by all accounts, she seems pretty normal. She also has a dog and a toddler that mutual friend said looked healthy, and there were no signs of drugs or intoxication. The phone number was in fact the girlfriend's. I guess he was just too absent-minded or depressed or whatever to read what I'd been sending. He seemed genuinely surprised to hear that a bunch of us were extremely worried about him, and told our mutual friend that he was lining up a retail job and planned to get a phone, and started reaching back out to people as soon as he could afford to do so. I'm not sure whether he actually will, but that's out of my hands. I'm still worried that his mental health isn't as quite as sunny as he's letting on. Even if you're aloof as hell, it seems like withdrawing from friends and family for months is pretty drastic. But I can't really do anything else from where I'm at. Once he's back on the grid, I hope he resumes contact, but I don't think this is something I can worry about as much going forward. Every time he drops off the face of the earth, he turns up totally fine. That's just the way he is. At least our mutual friend lives nearby now and can hopefully coax him back into some semblance of a social life. Since a lot of you were mentioning the family, I wanted to give a little context. My friend comes from a very large, very religious, and conservative family. He has a lot of younger siblings, and as such, was basically on his own by the time we got to high school. He stopped living at home before he was 18 due to tension in the family. He was kind of a quintessential high school stoner, and his parents seemed to basically give up on him by then. They're also no longer located in our hometown, so I guess they're used to not having contact with my friend for long stretches of time. One of the family members I talked to did offer to get him on their phone plan so we can avoid situations like this going forward. If I ever hear from him again, I'll let him know. Thanks again for all of your help. I'm a little embarrassed that this blew up so much and ended up being completely innocuous, but I really learned the value of better safe than sorry over the past few days. Weird guy shows up at my parents' house at 1 a.m. looking for me and using details of my life that were valid 20 years ago. Help me figure this out. Posted this on Creepy Encounter sub and someone suggested I post it here. This happened 3 nights ago and I'm going crazy trying to figure it out. I just moved into a new apartment 1 month ago and I'm still unpacking and settling in. I have been using my parents' address as my mailing address, who lives a few towns over, 20 minutes away, all my life. 3 nights ago, my parents called me at 2 a.m. freaked out and proceeded to tell me this story. Apparently at 1 a.m., someone starts banging on their front door and repeatedly ringing their doorbell. My stepdad walks downstairs and opens the door, leaving the front glass door closed and locked. There was a man standing outside, who looked to be about 30, with a black hoodie on with the hood pulled up around his face. He didn't have any distinguishing facial features, facial hair, or tattoos. The only thing my stepdad said was that he looked Hispanic. Neither my stepdad or my mother, who was watching the whole thing out the window, recognized this man. The man says, "I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm looking for my full name." My stepdad plays dumb and says, "Who?" The man proceeds to state my full name again and says that my boyfriend is worried because I didn't come home that night. He claims to be a friend of my boyfriend and tells my stepdad that they are both looking out for me, worried because I didn't show up at home. I don't have a boyfriend. I live by myself with my 3 dogs and haven't been in a relationship in the past 5 to 6 months. Here's the weird part. My stepdad asked the guy what boyfriend he was talking about, and the man tells him the name of the boyfriend I had when I was in 10th grade, nearly 20 years ago. My boyfriend in 10th grade has a very, very unique Italian name. I've never met anyone with a full name even close to his. He says my high school boyfriend's name a few more times to ensure my stepdad heard him, and repeats that they are very worried about me. Is my stepdad sure I'm not inside? At this point, my stepdad is weirded out and closes and locks the door in his face. The man doesn't leave. He lingers in front of my parents' house for the next 10 minutes, smoking cigarettes and talking on the phone. Finally, my parents call the cops. About 5 minutes before the cops arrive, the man walks down to the dead end on their block and drives away in a silver car. My stepdad was unable to get the license plate. My parents file a police report and nothing else happens. After I hear this story, I'm going nuts over the weird details. How would someone know who I dated nearly 20 years ago? And what would the motive be of making up a story that included that weird detail about my past? I have not had contact with the 10th grade boyfriend in over a decade. Yesterday, I decided to message him on Facebook to see if he has any insight. I tell him the whole story. He's just as confused as I am and claims to have no part in it. I'm at a loss. I'm also really freaked out that some strange man is going through that much trouble at 1 a.m. to look for me. Any insight or ideas would be greatly appreciated. No, nothing else weird has happened since then. Update number 1. Wow, this really blew up. Thank you so much for all the kind words and precautions that I should take. I want to add something here that a few people commented that might shine light on this mystery. First off, I'm not in any legal trouble and have no reason to think someone would be suing me. God, I guess it's always in the realm of the possibility that I'm being sued by someone, but I really don't think that's it. Like I previously commented, I had an expired registration ticket that I did not show up to court for, but I believe I got a letter in the mail just asking me to pay a really large fee, so I don't think that's related. I did take a personal loan out. Took it out about 1.5 years ago. It wasn't for anything too crazy, and I was really good with making payments on time until about 6 months ago, when I had a medical issue. Currently, I am really behind on payments, but to my knowledge, I have not defaulted on the loan yet. What do you guys think? Related? I had absolutely no idea that this is a thing, or I would have included the detail to begin with. Let me know your thoughts. Edit number 4. Alright, 1 year later, I finally have an update to this mystery. I will post here in the comments and also edit the original post to include. After this happened, me and my family and a couple of my close friends have been talking about this mystery in depth to try to put our heads together and to figure it out. We all have our own theories, but ultimately no definitive answer as to what happened or who this creeper was. So we pretty much put it to rest and only continue to joke about it once in a while. Here's the update. My stepsister, my stepdad's daughter, and her fiance were at a house party right after the holidays, around early January this year. While they were there, they started talking to a girl that neither of them knew. After some time talking together, the girl started talking about her ex-boyfriend and how they were going through a really tough time together. They had just recently broke up, and she felt really bad because he was a wreck over it. Somehow, it came up that this girl's ex-boyfriend was my 10th grade boyfriend, the one with the really unique Italian name. The whole situation wasn't that big of a coincidence, since I went to high school with my stepsister's fiancé, and we have a lot of mutual friends. So it makes sense that they were at a party that would include some people I went to high school with. As soon as my stepsister and her fiancé hear this, they both start freaking out, and without revealing too many details, they tell the girl about the whole mystery and how weird it was. As they are telling the story, the girl's face starts to go white, and she looks like she's about to cry. My stepsister and fiancé try to console her and ask her what's wrong. The wine/beer had been flowing at this point, so I'm sure everyone was a little tipsy. The girl starts to tell him that a few nights ago, she was sleeping and someone started banging on her door at, get this, fucking 1 a.m. Just like what happened to me at my parents'. The girl jumps out of bed and says she was absolutely terrified by how loud and aggressive someone was banging on her door. She said she literally thought they were going to break in. The girl has a Ring camera, so looks on her phone, then on the camera is a guy in a black hoodie banging on her door. She obviously pretends like she isn't home and keeps all the lights off. He continues banging. As she is getting ready to dial 911, the guy stops and leaves. She said she was absolutely terrified. For whatever reason, she didn't end up calling the cops, but may have went to stay with a friend that night or the night after. My stepsister and fiancé are shocked by the details and how similar this story is to mine, especially because of the mutual ex-boyfriend we share. Except this girl literally just broke things off with him. They asked the girl if she has any idea who the guy was, and she says no, but that it is definitely not the actual ex-boyfriend. She said that this guy was much taller and heavier than our shared mutual ex. How fucking weird. This mystery is still unsolved, and that these new details honestly just make my head spin even more. No one else has showed up to my parents' door since the actual incident a year ago. And then, a little while later, the OP decided to make a comment about all the questions she was being asked, so let's get into that. Hi all, so a few answers to some questions. 1. 10th grade boyfriend was into drugs when I dated him back in high school. No idea if he continued to use throughout his life or not, but can confirm he is definitely an addict who may or may not be in recovery currently. Number 2. 10th grade boyfriend has been to my parents' house multiple times. My parents still live in the same house I grew up in, and 10th grade boyfriend has been over multiple times while we dated in high school. I don't know where he currently lives, but he grew up about 10 minutes away from my parents' house. Number 3, 10th grade boyfriend and I had a horrific breakup. I met my high school sweetheart while I was dating him and broke up with him in a pretty messed up way. He held a grudge over it all throughout high school and was extremely nasty to me to the point of bullying. At one point, I had to get a security guard to escort me to class because of him, and his friends were bullying me so bad. The bullying was so severe for the rest of the 10th grade, but he definitely hated me all throughout high school. At one point, he did end up apologizing to me and explained that he was just heartbroken over me breaking up with him, but at that point, I was way past the point of forgiving him. After graduating high school, we ran into each other, maybe once or twice while I was home from college. He was totally cordial, nice with me, and we laughed with the high school experiences. Number 4, I can definitely try reaching out to him on Facebook again and bringing back up this whole mystery with the added updates from his recent ex-girlfriend to see what his reaction is and gauge whether or not he's telling the truth. I can also ask the mutual high school friends who know him about how he currently is, if he's into any shady shit or not. Number 5, my stepsis only gave me a first name and description of recent ex from the party, but I can go to 10th grade boyfriend's Facebook and look for her under his friends, then reach out to her on Facebook Messenger to inquire about the ring footage and ask more questions. Also, see if she's reached out to cops. I agree this is probably the best thing to do if I want more answers, but I agree I need to be careful as I still don't know what is going on here. Number 6, 10th grade boyfriend does not have a brother, just one younger sister that I remember back from high school. And that is the last update we get from this OP. They're still active on Reddit, but they have not updated the story, so I mean, hopefully she was able to resolve this issue and figure out who her stalker was. But yeah, like I said, it's been about 2 years since she last updated this post, so who knows what really happened. But that is just a really weird and creepy story that her and the guy's new ex have the same stalker, but it's not their ex-boyfriend. That just makes the whole thing so strange and weird, and I mean, I really wonder who it could have been. But anyways, that's the end of this video, so thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any feedback or anything you'd like to see me change in the next video. If it wasn't obvious enough, this is my first video, so I'd appreciate some feedback in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.